Adobe just bought Semrush for $1.9 billion. But will the brand survive the merger? Cloudflare triggered a global outage, but did it expose a deeper fracture in the internet itself? Ford is selling cars on Amazon. Is the dealership model dead? GTA 6 delayed again, and now 200 workers are protesting. And Saudi Arabia might buy Warner Brothers or fund Comcast takeover from the shadows. Different headlines, one truth. Power isn't permanent, pressure reveals the cracks. Welcome to the DR Weekly Wrap, where brand strategy meets industry shockwaves. I'm Kia, and today we're breaking down how 5 giants reach their pressure point and what the future looks like on the other side. Adobe just bought Semrush for $1.9 billion, the biggest SEO acquisition in years. The announcement landed like a seismic shift, a creative giant swallowing the web's most beloved search intelligence platform. But beneath the hype, anxiety, because everyone's asking the same question. Does Semrush stay Semrush or disappear inside Creative Cloud? Here's the strategic play. Adobe wants end-to-end dominance, from content to analytics to distribution. Semrush gives them the missing search brain. The risk? Semrush's entire value comes from being independent, technical, and trusted by practitioners. Fold that into enterprise layers, and you lose the culture that made it valuable. This isn't a data acquisition, it's a community acquisition. SEO pros, growth marketers, and agencies don't use Semrush because it's big, they use it because it's theirs. And when a platform beloved for agility meets a company famous for bundling, perception shifts fast. Risks? Price hikes, feature bloat, talent exodus, culture dilution. The counter? Preserve the standalone brand, keep the orange flame burning, build integrations without erasing identity. Because in search, trust isn't a feature, it's the product. Specialist brands lose value the moment they stop feeling specialist. Adobe gets scale, but it must protect Semrush's soul. Position Semrush as Adobe's search operating system, not a sidebar tool. Let its community guide the roadmap. Because if Adobe tries to corporatize the culture, it will break the very ecosystem it just paid $1.9 billion for. A powerful acquisition only works if the brand you buy stays powerful. Adobe didn't just buy data, it bought trust. And trust must remain visible. When Cloudflare went down, the internet went with it, literally. One buggy update caused a cascading outage across banks, e-commerce, logistics, SaaS, government portals. But the real story isn't the bug. It's the revelation of just how centralized the modern internet really is. This isn't about Cloudflare messing up. This is about the global web running on a handful of choke points. We built a digital world where one mistake by one engineer in one update can stall millions of services worldwide. When infrastructure becomes invisible, so does risk. Cloudflare powers DNS, security, routing, edge compute. It's the digital foundation no consumer sees until it fractures. Risks? Vendor fragility, security exposure, operational paralysis, reputational ripple. The counter? Radical transparency. Cloudflare must lead a conversation on decentralization, redundancy, and how the web really works before governments do it for them. When a single outage breaks the system isn't broken, it was designed fragile. Turn this moment into education. Don't hide the flaw, explain it. Brands respect honesty in infrastructure more than perfection in PR. Speed scales, fragility scales faster. The companies that run the internet must now explain how they plan to secure it. Ford just did the unthinkable. It put its cars on Amazon, a move some call genius, others call betrayal, because it doesn't just shift distribution, it challenges the dealership model that's defined the auto industry for nearly a century. The strategic pivot is obvious. Consumers research online, compare online, buy online, and Ford wants to meet them there, not 20 miles away in a showroom. The risk? If every vehicle becomes a product page, the emotional weight of buying a car shrinks. When convenience becomes the story, experience becomes collateral. Dealerships were never just stores, they were trust proxies. Remove them, and the brand must replace the trust itself. Risks? Dealer revolt, customer confusion, margin pressure, weakened brand ritual. The counter? Hybrid storytelling. Amazon as discovery, dealerships as delivery, Ford as the narrative anchor. Modernization doesn't require flattening the brand. When you move to a platform that commodifies everything, you must fight harder to differentiate something. Ford must show how digital buying enhances the driving experience, not replaces it. Keep the emotion, upgrade the transaction. Transformation works when trust scales with it. Ford is betting consumers want convenience, but the brand must ensure the emotional story still lands. GTA 6, the most anticipated game of the decade, is delayed again. But the delay isn't the headline. It's the 200 Rockstar employees protesting return-to-office mandates and alleged unsafe workloads. Suddenly, the world's flashiest gaming brand is facing a trust crisis from the inside. Rockstar's reputation is built on obsessive detail and cinematic worlds, but that perfection has a cost. Crunch culture, pressure, burnout. This time, workers are pushing back publicly. When the studio behind a franchise about rebellion faces a rebellion of its own workforce, the brand story changes. Fans may wait for the game, but talent won't wait for respect. Risks: delayed pipeline, lost talent, culture scrutiny, shareholder concern. The counter: rebuild creative culture with transparency, remote flexibility, and psychological safety. In gaming, innovation dies when burnout becomes a default. A delayed game can ship later, a broken culture ships consequences for years. Rockstar must own a new narrative, world-class games made without world-class suffering. The industry is watching, and so are the fans. Hype fills the launch window, culture fuels the next decade. Rockstar must stabilize the team before it stabilizes the timeline. This week, Warner Brothers Discovery became the center of global attention after reports suggested Saudi Arabia might buy the company outright or quietly fund Comcast's bid. It's not just a business story, it's a geopolitical shift. Hollywood isn't just entertainment, it's America's cultural engine, storytelling as soft power, and foreign state investment changes the stakes. The question isn't, will the sale happen? It's, what does ownership mean for creative independence? Saudi's public investment fund has reshaped sports, events, and tourism. Buying or backing Warner Brothers would be the boldest move yet, taking influence from arenas to narratives. Risks: political perception, creative censorship concerns, talent pushback, regulatory friction. The counter: proactive clarity. If WBD wants stability, it must articulate values, creative boundaries, and governance before speculation defines them. Control the story or become a character in someone else's. WBD must stabilize audience trust by addressing transparency head-on. Silence invites interpretation, and interpretation becomes brand reality. Capital shapes culture, but clarity protects it. Hollywood's future depends on who holds the megaphone and why. Pressure reveals power. This week showed the difference between influence and resilience. Adobe bought scale but must protect identity. Cloudflare broke but exposed the truth. Ford innovated but challenged its own legacy. Rockstar delayed a decade-defining game and risks eroding internal trust. Warner Brothers became a geopolitical symbol, not just a studio. The winners weren't the biggest, they were the clearest. Because pressure doesn't create cracks, it reveals them. If you build brands, lead teams, or work where creativity meets commerce, subscribe to DesignRush. Clarity isn't a luxury, it's leverage. And next week's story could be yours. If this wrap-up left you thinking differently about how brands survive the noise, hit like, subscribe, and join us for more strategy breakdowns every week.